Well, ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris is back, and she has announced the launch of Kamala HQ. And what this promises to be is a new digital media hub trying to get in touch with Gen Z voters. And that has some concerns, right? The internet is treating it like a punchline. Conservative media, they're mocking it, calling it cringe. And frankly, I've got to tell you that the 6'7" reference that she has, it is cringe. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how this fits in to a win in November of 2026 and a win in 2028. That said, Kamala Harris is extremely popular. And we do, on the left, Democrats have to reach out to Gen Z better. But are we trying too hard to be young? Are we being inauthentic? And I want to step back just a little second to talk about what this platform, Kamala HQ, is before we get into what it actually means. All right, so Kamala is describing this as a digital-first content operation. And they're building this to operate between election cycles. Short-term video, influencers, creator collaboration, all of this stuff trying to step into the future of political media. And this is something Republicans figured out years ago. We saw it with the Trump campaign. We saw him reach the Joe Rogan audience, the comedian audience, the TikTok audience. The Republicans, whether they meant to or not, took over that landscape. The other thing that the Republicans did well is they met youth where they were. They appealed to the loneliness and the stress and the anxiety that Gen Z feels seeing crisis over crisis over crisis. The Republicans and Trump did a great job at reaching out to those people. And frankly, I'm wondering if this is a little too late for November 2026. Just a few months ahead of an election is not the best time to now start reaching out to Gen Z. And we've seen some people do it well on the left. We've seen Gavin Newsom use non-traditional media very, very well. And frankly, we've seen very little else on the left. And let's talk about what Gen Z wants, right? Gen Z is skeptical of everybody. They're skeptical of institutions, career politicians. They don't like speeches. They don't like data and figures. They want authenticity and consistency. They want somebody to speak to them. And my question is, can Kamala and the Democrats on the left, can they reach Gen Z with the right messaging? Look, I have no doubt that they're going to put all of the money they need to into this platform. I have a feeling that they're going to do a great job building infrastructure. But you can't suddenly become cool by making 6'7" references. You can't suddenly become cool by stepping off of a book tour and funding a social media platform. And to me, the mockery from both sides is telling. Look, Fox News, we knew they were going to mock this. They're going to talk about who's funding it. And it's revealing to me from the right that the right already dominates, like I said, all of the other platforms that the left has failed. They also have extreme influence with the owners of the platforms. Meta, Amazon, all of these places are Trump friendly. So the algorithms, whether it's intentional or not, the algorithms promote right-wing content, the outrage content. So when Democrats are trying to compete in that space late to the game, it's getting framed as embarrassing. I don't know if it's because it's not going to work. I don't know. But I do know that the right sees it as a threat to their monopoly. The problem is I do think it is going to have to take more than just building a social media platform. And right now you see Kamala and Kamala HQ betting that familiarity is beating inspiration, right? They're trying to meet people where they are. They're trying to be consistent with their messaging. And they're hoping that Gen Z sees Democratic messaging, and it may be imperfect, right? It may not say the exact right things, but they're hoping that it reaches them where they are. And I'm going to tell you this too. We saw that Trump dominated in 2024 in the space, but the promises that were made have not been kept. We saw Joe Rogan speak out against Trump. We've seen all of these other comedians and content creators take a step back from the Trump campaign. Now, we have not seen the billionaire owners step back, but we have seen a shift in the dynamics, and the polls show it. The polls are showing that younger people are shying away from Donald Trump. And the polls are also reflecting that Kamala Harris is the top Democratic contender for 2028. And that is important here. Kamala hasn't announced a candidacy. She hasn't said she's going to run. We don't know if she is. And I see this as dipping her toe into the water. I see this as an opportunity for her to exert influence, to get her messaging out without the risk and the attacks of being an actual candidate. And with any early leader in polls, Gavin Newsom's among them, and we've seen J.D. Vance trying to be paraded out, the Olympics, the Megyn Kelly interview, all of that. You also need infrastructure. So Kamala is building that. But I want to caution against the risks. If this is not executed well, it can turn into a meme, it can turn into a joke, and it can tank Kamala before she even runs for anything. If she's overscripted, if she tries too hard, if it is focus grouped, Gen Z is going to feel that, and they're going to see through it, and they're going to start tuning out instantly. But if Democrats start telling real stories, let creators create, talk like humans, and stop treating a young voter like a prop. And that's where I get a real problem with the 6'7" references and all of that. That tells me, sure, you may know what's going viral, but you don't know what matters. So I'm hoping that Kamala knows what matters. I'm hoping that the left knows what matters, because we need this. And I'm hoping that, look, we know we're going to see some awkward moments. We know that having a platform dedicated to political content trying to reach Gen Z, it's not going to be a magic pill that fixes everything. And it is nice that we are now reaching Gen Z and trying to reach Gen Z. But let me be clear, politics isn't about being cool. It's about being present. And I like the direction that we're trying to be present, but I am worried that we're not going to be authentic. We'll see how this impacts from now until November.
A corrupt congressman, his faithless henchwoman. Together they've sold justice to the highest bidder. But when a boy's death threatens their empire, they'll lie, bribe, kill to keep their secrets buried. Only one man remembers, and this time, the system's fixers are the ones getting fixed. A Death in Arcadia. Every secret has a price,